The Galactic Empire had ruled for millennia. Its fleet stretched across spiral arms, its laws suffocating entire worlds beneath a single banner. Species bowed, adapted, or perished. Humanity, new to the stars, had been tolerated, barely. To the Empire, Earth was a backwater planet, its people spirited but ultimately harmless. That illusion ended the day a child died. It began with the patrol ship Corthan's Spear. It descended through Earth's atmosphere with arrogance carved. Into its hull, silver plates shimmering against the blue sky. The Empire had demanded resources, fuel, metals, compliance. Earth's leaders hesitated. Humanity had always resisted being told what to do, and now, united under the fragile banner of the global coalition, Earth tried to negotiate. The aliens did not understand negotiation. They understood dominance. In New York City, at the foot of the United Nations building, a crowd had gathered. Cameras hovered on drones, broadcasting live across every channel, every device, every continent. Humanity watched as towering alien soldiers emerged, reptilian forms clad in armor that reflected sunlight like knives. Their commander spoke through a translator device, voice cold and commanding. "You will submit resources, or you will submit blood." The crowd shouted back, defiance, anger, raw human spirit. And among the mass of humanity, a child broke free. A boy no older than 8, clutching a small Earth flag, ran forward. Perhaps he thought he could offer peace. Perhaps he was simply too young to understand fear. His mother screamed his name. Cameras zoomed in. The entire world held its breath. The alien officer raised his plasma rifle and fired. The boy fell, the flag dropping beside him, its cloth smoldering where the energy blast had burned through. For a heartbeat, silence. Utter silence. The kind that shakes the soul, and then rage. The mother's wails cut through the stillness. People surged forward, some throwing stones, others screaming curses. Soldiers of Earth moved to shield civilians, but it was too late. The broadcast had already carried the image to every living room, every phone, every heart. The image of a child's body and a burning flag. That single shot shattered Earth's restraint. In the hours that followed, grief consumed the planet. The boy's name, Daniel, was etched into every headline. His face, wide-eyed and innocent, became the emblem of injustice. But grief did not remain grief for long. Humanity had a strange alchemy, one the Empire had never encountered. Grief became fury. Fury became unity. The bickering nations of Earth dissolved their rivalries overnight. Old enemies signed treaties with trembling hands. Generals who had once prepared for war against each other now shared battle tables. Corporations funneled their treasuries into weapons research. Hidden arsenals, relics of old conflicts, were dragged from vaults and refurbished. And something else stirred. Projects whispered about but never revealed. Weapons humanity had developed in secret, afraid even of themselves. Railguns the size of skyscrapers, quantum missiles that could fold space on impact, autonomous swarms of hunter drones. Now, nothing would be held back. The Empire watched from orbit, amused. The primitives scream, their commanders mocked. They wail like cubs robbed of food. They expected the outrage to fade, as it had with countless other species under their heel. They thought humanity would bow, as others always did. They did not understand what had been unleashed. The first strikes were not defensive. They were surgical. Within days, human fleets, once scattered, outdated, and seemingly weak, launched into orbit. Their ships were not sleek, not elegant like the Empire's. They were angular, brutal, machines of steel and fire. But they carried something no alien fleet ever had, the resolve of a united, furious species. The first target was not the Empire's warships, but its supply convoys. Human vessels appeared where no alien scanners predicted, shredding transports with railgun fire that tore through shields like paper. Convoys burned. Worlds on the fringe cried for aid as their lifelines were severed. The Empire responded with laughter, then with fleets. Yet, battle after battle, their confidence began to crumble. Humanity did not fight by alien rules. They fought with guerrilla tactics, ambushes, traps laid across entire star systems. A single human dreadnought would lure a dozen alien cruisers into asteroid fields rigged with mines. Fighter wings struck and vanished into nebulae. Colonies the Empire thought untouchable went dark in sudden silence. The galaxy began to whisper, "The humans are different." Daniel's image became more than a symbol. It became a banner. His face was painted on warships, etched into the armor of soldiers, whispered before battles. Every strike, every victory carried his name. The Empires. Generals convened, baffled. "They are primitives. Why do they resist so fiercely?" An elder commander, scarred from centuries of campaigns, gave the answer the others could not see. "Because we did not kill a soldier, we killed their child. We gave them something worse than fear. We gave them wrath. But by then, it was too late." As the war escalated, entire sectors burned. The Empire's fleets, once symbols of invincibility, were reduced to wreckage drifting in silence. Human dreadnoughts, black steel leviathans, moved with relentless precision, carving paths of fire through enemy territory. And always in the broadcasts, in the war speeches, humanity repeated one phrase: for Daniel. The final act came when the humans struck at the Empire's core. No species had ever dared, yet humans did not hesitate. Their armadas descended like storms of iron and flame, cutting through defenses once thought unbreakable. On the steps of the Empire's capital, Citadel, as alien leaders cowered, humanity's envoy delivered their message: "You killed one child, and for that, you will remember us forever." The Empire fell, not because of Earth's numbers, not because of Earth's technology alone, but because of something far simpler: humanity's unyielding refusal to forgive or to forget. In the years that followed, the galaxy reshaped itself. Empires crumbled, councils dissolved, and among the stars, one warning was spoken in hushed tones: "Do not touch their children. Do not test their wrath, for humans are not like us. They do not break, they burn." And so, Daniel's name lived on. Not as the boy who was lost, but as the spark that lit the inferno which consumed an empire. The Galactic Empire believed itself eternal. It stretched across countless systems, its fleets larger than storms, its law enforced with cold steel. To them, humanity was nothing but another fledgling species, spirited perhaps, but doomed to submission like all the rest. But one moment, one careless shot, would change the fate of empires. It happened on the day of Earth's first formal peace gathering with the Empire. After years of strained contact, cautious diplomacy had finally produced a summit. Representatives of Earth stood on the steps of the United Nations building, cameras swarming overhead, broadcasting the event to billions. Among the gathered crowd was a little girl named Lila. She was only 7, her hand clutching her father's as she stared wide-eyed at the alien delegation. She had begged to come, excited to see the visitors from the stars. To her, it was an adventure. The alien soldiers stood tall, armored and reptilian, their weapons gleaming. Their commander read the terms of Earth's partnership. In reality, they were demands. Surrender resources, surrender autonomy, surrender your future. Murmurs rippled through the human leaders. Humanity was proud, stubborn. They did not yield easily. Their hesitation was obvious. The alien commander snarled, raising his voice so all could hear, "Submission is survival. Refuse and learn the price of defiance." And then, weather out, of frustration, contempt, or the simple cruelty of empires drunk on power. One soldier raised his weapon. The plasma bolt tore across the plaza and struck Lila. For a moment, there was only silence. Her father's scream echoed as he fell to his knees, clutching her small, lifeless body. The cameras caught everything, the tiny figure limp in her father's arms, the smoke rising from her chest, the toy ribbon still tied in her hair. The silence shattered into chaos. Crowds surged forward, security forces clashed with alien soldiers, and across the world, billions watched in horror. The Empire believed fear had been planted. They had made an example. What they planted instead was something far deadlier. Grief swept Earth. Vigils burned in every city. Murals of Lila's face appeared on walls, her smile painted with trembling hands. News networks played the footage again and again, until it seared itself into the human soul. But grief did not remain grief. Grief became fury. Fury became unity. Humanity had always been divided by borders, by politics, by history. Yet now, for the first time, there was no east or west, no north or south, no religion or ideology. There was only Earth, and Earth had been wounded. Emergency sessions, rival nations signed declarations of unity. Generals who had once plotted against each other now sat shoulder to shoulder. Industrial giants turned their factories into arsenals. Research labs unlocked vaults of projects once deemed too dangerous, too unstable. Now they would become humanity's sword. The message spread across every channel. For Lila. The Empire laughed. Reports of human resistance reached their high command, but they dismissed them as noise. Another species wails, they said. They will break. But the humans did not break. The first battles were swift, brutal, and shocking. The Empire expected weak resistance, outdated ships, crude weapons. Instead, human fleets emerged bristling with technologies the galaxy had never seen. Mass drivers that hurled tungsten rods at near-light speed, quantum rail cannons that tore apart warships in single shots, cloaked dreadnoughts that appeared, without warning, raining destruction before vanishing into dark space. Entire alien squadrons disappeared in minutes. Convoys were ambushed, colonies cut off, strongholds razed. The galaxy blinked in disbelief. These primitives fought with a savagery that defied every known doctrine. They did not fight for territory. They did not fight for dominance. They fought for vengeance, and vengeance made them unstoppable. The child's name became a banner of war. Lila's face was painted on the sides of tanks, on the hulls of dreadnoughts, on the flags carried by infantry as they stormed alien fortresses. Before every battle, soldiers whispered her name. Pilots etched it into their cockpits. Commanders invoked it in speeches that made entire armies roar with fire. Every victory was claimed in her name. Every alien ship burned was justice. The Empire, once arrogant, began to falter. Their generals convened in panic. They fight like no others, one admitted. They do not surrender, another added. They are relentless. An older strategist, scarred and weary, gave the truth. They are human, and we killed their child. We did not understand what that would mean. The war spread like wildfire. Star systems once loyal to the Empire watched in awe as human fleets tore through defenses. Some rebelled, emboldened by humanity's ferocity. Others fled, fearing they would be next. The galaxy's perception shifted. Where once humans were dismissed as weak, now they were whispered of as predators. Hunters who fought not with cold calculation, but with burning wrath. The Empire's propaganda collapsed. No amount of lies could erase the footage of a child dying in her father's arms. No speech could smother the cry echoing across the stars. For Lila, the final act came sooner than anyone expected. Humanity, having burned its way through sector after sector, launched the unthinkable, a direct assault on the Empire's core. Alien fleets assembled in desperation, forming walls of firepower. But human dreadnoughts punched through with fury, unmatched, scattering defenders like leaves in a storm. Orbital strikes rained on shipyards, command stations, and citadels. At last, human forces breached the capital itself. The once invincible heart of the Empire trembled under bombardment. Alien leaders cowered in bunkers as human infantry marched through their halls, black armor glinting beneath banners bearing the image of a smiling child. On the palace steps, Earth's envoy delivered the final words. "You killed one innocent. For that, your empire dies." And with those words, the Galactic Empire ceased to exist. In the years that followed, the galaxy reshaped itself around the new reality. Where once the Empire ruled, now dozens of free worlds flourished. But all remembered the price of that freedom. Stories of humanity's vengeance spread like fire through the stars. Species who had once mocked humans now treated them with wary respect. And one phrase became eternal: never again anger the humans. Never touch their children. Lila's name lived on, not as tragedy alone, but as legend. She was no longer just a child. She was the spark that turned humanity into a storm, and the storm had reshaped the galaxy forever. The Galactic Empire had grown complacent. For centuries, it crushed rebellions, erased cultures, and enforced obedience with fire and steel. No species had ever truly resisted for long. Fear was the Empire's greatest weapon, and it wielded that weapon with precision. But empires that last too long make fatal mistakes. This one forgot that not all species break under terror. And humanity had never forgotten how to burn. The incident began on what the Empire called a disciplinary action. Earth had hesitated to pay its tribute, a shipment of metals, fuels, and food stocks demanded without negotiation. The Empire dispatched a fleet to remind humanity of its place. In the heart of London, an alien commander gathered civilians as an example. Towering reptilian soldiers herded the crowd with shock staves, forcing them to kneel as cameras recorded. The commander spoke through a translator, his voice booming and arrogant. "Observe, humans. Defiance earns pain. Submission earns mercy." The crowd bristled. Humanity had endured centuries of kings, dictators, and empires on its own soil. They knew the language of tyranny too well. Murmurs of defiance rose, and then the commander made his mistake. He gestured to a child, no more than 9, clutching his sister's hand. "Take one," the alien officer sneered. "Show them what happens when they disobey." Before anyone could move, a soldier raised his weapon. A plasma shot rang out. The boy crumpled, lifeless, smoke curling from his chest. The crowd froze. His sister's screams tore through the silence. The image burned itself into every watching eye, broadcast live, captured by drones, shared across Earth's networks within seconds. The Empire believed this would terrify the population into obedience. Instead, they had poured gasoline onto a fire they did not know existed. Humanity did not bow. Humanity burned. Grief surged first, vigils, tears, faces lit by candlelight. But grief is a short-lived fuel for humans. It transforms, mutates, hardens. And in the crucible of rage, Earth found unity. For centuries, humans had fought one another. They had painted history in blood and ruin. Yet in those struggles, they had learned something no alien race understood. Pain could forge resolve. Loss could unite, and wrath could become a weapon sharper than steel. Within hours, Earth's leaders met in emergency sessions. Rival nations tore down their borders. Generals clasped hands across tables once divided by suspicion. Corporations diverted every resource into war production. And from secret vaults long hidden, humanity unveiled projects whispered about but never unleashed. Dreadnoughts with rail guns powerful enough to pierce moons. Artificial intelligence. Battle networks capable of orchestrating fleets like a single mind. Orbital kinetic weapons. Rods of iron that fell with the force of nuclear fire, leaving no radiation, only ruin. The boy's name, Ethan, spread across every channel, every broadcast. His smile, captured in a family photo, was etched onto banners, painted on armor, engraved into the steel of warships. The Empire had not killed just a child. They had created a symbol. The first blows came swiftly. Human fleets struck not defensively, but offensively. Convoys were shredded, their escorts overwhelmed by railgun fire. Outposts burned. Colonies that had once whispered of rebellion now openly cheered the human strikes, emboldened by their defiance. The Empire dismissed these at first as scattered raids. Primitives cannot sustain a war, their generals scoffed. They will break as others broke. But the humans did not break. They adapted. They innovated. They unleashed tactics that alien strategists could not predict. Guerrilla warfare in space, hit-and-run strikes, ambushes from asteroid fields, fleets that lured enemies into traps spanning entire star systems. When the Empire responded with overwhelming force, humans disappeared into the shadows, only to strike elsewhere. Harder, faster. The galaxy began to murmur. The humans are different. Alien generals laughed in the beginning. They are reckless, they said. They fight with madness. But laughter turned to silence when human dreadnoughts emerged from void space, cloaked in experimental drives, obliterating entire armadas before vanishing again. Laughter turned to fear when orbital strikes reduced fortified garrisons to molten glass in minutes. Ethan's name, carried like a war cry, echoed even in alien broadcasts. Some species began whispering prayers not to their own gods, but to the human's wrath, hoping never to stand against it. What the Empire had failed to understand was that humanity carried its history like a weapon. No other species had burned cities only to rebuild them stronger. No other species had survived world wars, genocides, nuclear fire, and kept moving forward. When the aliens killed Ethan, they did not just commit a crime. They woke the memories of every scar humanity had endured. They reminded Earth of every empire that had tried to chain it, every tyrant who believed fear could break its will. And so, humanity answered as it always had, with fire. The war escalated beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Human fleets carved through sector after sector, dismantling the Empire's infrastructure, unraveling its chains one world at a time. Species that had suffered in silence now rose in rebellion, inspired by humanity's storm. The Empire's council panicked. Armies were thrown into battle, entire fleets conscripted to stop the human advance. But every clash ended the same way, wreckage drifting in silence, human dreadnoughts moving forward without pause. At last, humanity struck the Empire's core. The capital system, once thought inviolable, shuddered as human ships poured from void rifts. Orbital defenses lit up the skies, but human railguns silenced them in minutes. Bombardments rained down on citadels, shipyards, and command centers. And then, the march. Human infantry, armored in black and steel, stormed the capital's palace. Alien rulers cowered in their throne room as the humans entered, rifles raised, banners unfurled. Upon those banners was not the image of a general, nor a symbol of conquest. It was Ethan's face, the boy they had killed, the human commander, stepped forward and spoke. His voice translated into every frequency across the galaxy. You thought you killed one of us. What you did was forge all of us. You will not be remembered for your empire, your fleets, your power. You will be remembered for the child you murdered and for the fire that followed. And with that, the Galactic Empire ended. In the years after, the galaxy rebuilt. Worlds once enslaved flourished in freedom, but all remembered the warning carved into history. Do not harm their young. Do not awaken their wrath, for humans do not bow. They burn. And so Ethan's name endured, not as tragedy but as legend. The boy who should have lived but whose death tore down an empire. The child, the spark, the fire.